There are many various reasons an organization has a need for developing and maintaining an employee handbook. Maintaining an employee handbook is critical in providing information to employees to mitigate risk and support efficiencies within an organization. Business owners may associate an employee handbook with policy and procedure information to protect the employer from litigation. Although this is true, employee handbooks can also act as a very useful resource for the organization to provide beneficial information to employees. If approached and written correctly, the handbook will not just be a collection of statutes and requirements, but will act as a resource for employees to learn about the organization and how to be effective in their roles. Organizations need a handbook for the following reasons: provide information about the policies and procedures, to provide information about compliance around state and federal regulations, to provide information about the culture of the organization, and to provide information about the expectations of employee performance.
An obvious segment of the employee handbook is the need to communicate the policies and procedures of the organization. It is critical for employees to effectively understand the policies and the procedures of the company. It is also extremely critical for the organization's policies and procedures to be clearly defined in the handbook in order to protect the employer. The policies and procedures within the handbook must be respected and carried out by the employer and the employee. General policies and procedures to include in the handbook are typically found around employment, conduct and behavior, as well as compensation.
Every employer is required to meet the compliance standards for federal and state laws. The act of listing compliance for federal and state requirements is complying with many actual federal and state laws for organizations. Certain examples of federal and state regulations to include within the handbook can be information around the Family Medical Leave Act, federal and state pay deductions, and military leave. Many items such as this are required to be listed within employee handbooks, and we will discuss this in further detail in a later section.
Many do not consider the employee handbook as an outlet to provide employees with information around the overall culture of the organization. In addition to providing policy and procedural information, the employee handbook can be an opportunity to give insight to employees around the organizational culture. Employees can be given exposure to a message from the executive team or owner of the company within the handbook as well. This message can assist employees in understanding the vision of the company and connecting them to contributing to the overall mission.
The employee handbook is a useful tool to notify employees what is expected of them. The employer has an opportunity to communicate to employees how their performance will be judged and the repercussions for not meeting the requirements. There are many components that can make up the process for evaluating employee performance, but providing the information in the handbook gives employees a baseline to be successful. Providing this information also allows the employer to lead into the disciplinary action process when employees fail to meet the performance requirements. Additional details around including specific information regarding policies and procedures, federal and state regulations, organizational culture, and employee expectations in the handbook will be covered in the Determining the Contents section. Resources around the need for an employee handbook within an organization can be found in the resource section below.